Amid the scents of fresh hay and charred campfires, Ricketts surveyed the battlefield Wallace had chosen. No one could have selected a better position. Ricketts' 2nd Brigade stretched across the Washington Road and into the rising fields on the left flank, with the river a moat to its front. In a hollow off to the right, his 1st Brigade awaited orders while one last regiment, the 14th New Jersey, drew rations. Wallace's Green troops had been placed in strong positions to the northeast, above the river's bends, giving them every advantage that could be culled from the terrain. A victory might be impossible, but Jubal Early would face a troublesome morning. "That's how you play a low-card hand, son," Ricketts said to an aide. "Ride down and tell Colonel Truex I want to see him." The lieutenant touched the brow of his cap and tugged his horse about. Ricketts wished he had his division's complement of artillery, even half of it. There were excellent fields of fire to the northwest, where the rebels appeared to be taking their merry time. Skirmishing had chipped the air for hours, but Early didn't seem in a rush to see Washington. He'd come on, though, before the morning was out, and many a man would have supper with the devil. Guarded of speech, Ricketts had not told Wallace how bad things were. When he embarked at City Point, it had been unclear whether other troops would follow. The haste and confusion had been appalling, and he had limited himself to his own concerns, seeing his 2 brigades marched aboard their vessels. He could only hope that the rest of the Corps was on its way to Washington. The carelessness on every part had been so pronounced, it bordered on frivolity. How on earth could Early have arrived within 40 or 50 miles of Washington, shooting his way north for 200 miles, without anybody in the government or the whole damned army noticing? Now here he was, James B. Ricketts, lately the proud and aging captain of Battery 1, 1st U.S. Artillery, a brigadier general leading men whose spirits were as badly worn as their shoes, soldiers exhausted by 2 months of grisly fighting, and faced with odds as close to hopeless as any in his experience. Well, Ricketts thought, I've been on the edge of hopelessness before, and God bless Francis. He'd been shot 4 times and abandoned at Bull Run, and his wife had been told he was dead. On learning that he was alive, if barely, and a prisoner, she had bullied her way through the lines and past Jeb Stewart, a friend from their Rio Grande days, to find him in a blood-swabbed, fetid house where she had been greeted by a pile of limbs. His wife had fought the surgeons to save his leg, then traveled along on the prison train to Richmond, insisting on remaining by his side, first in the filthy, sickness-ridden poorhouse, then in Libby Prison, which was worse, begging food to nourish him, and accepting bread from a woman of the streets, only to be told that he had been selected for execution in retaliation for the impending hanging of Southern privateers. Francis had gone to war, threatening to shame the Confederacy before the great wide world should it execute a badly wounded honorable officer. Francis, not Jefferson Davis, had won that fight. On the cusp of 1862, he had been exchanged, with his wife threadbare, ill, and beaming by his side when they reached Fairfax. His Francis, his Fanny, his champion. It saddened him immensely that this proud, determined woman, a distant cousin and far prettier than his own looks merited, tormented herself in the belief that he had never quite gotten over his first wife's death. And the worst of it was, she was right. Harriet pulsed through his dreams, if he willed it or not. He had learned as a boy that fairness was foreign to humanity, and nothing in his past had proven otherwise. He had known joy, but never had met justice, not even in sleep. And this day, here in Maryland, promised to be unfair, unjust, and hopeless. The thing was not to let on. Anyway, hopelessness lay at the heart of soldiering, did it not? And the odds had been even worse for Wallace before his boys arrived, yet the fellow still had been willing to make a stand.